Hey, how you?
All good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Bit tired. Been on at a festival for 4 days, and so I'm still dusty and a bit red from all the sun. But other than that, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's well, festival season is all about that, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, didn't have to work at all. Just hung out and saw tons of great bands and met friends. So it was great. Now the real starts this weekend, of course.
Oh, were you at Sweden Rock or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
I, I,
Always a great time.
yeah, I would love to have to go to Sweden Rock. I'm always thinking like great lineup. I need to go
Yeah.
there, and then I never
That's
go.
it's my 13th year or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And before we start talking about Endtime
Yep.
Signals, you have Cemetery Skyline, Grand
Yep.
Cadaver. You tour a lot with Dark Tranquillity. How the hell did you manage to write a record as well?
It's, I mean, mostly it's been done over a long period of time, basically. A lot of it was written during the pandemic, and that really helped. So we could kind of, most of the songs for everything Gank It Over basically was written then. Um, and for Cemetery Skyline, we really got started during the pandemic as well. So it was just a matter of just sitting around writing and kind of like, yeah, let's do something like this because it's interesting and fascinating and new and, exciting. Um, but then once we kind of started with the new DT album and the new Halo album and finishing the Cemetery Skyline album, things got a bit hectic, but it's been good. Like I've we realized like there's no reason to rush anything, and also everything has to be spread out kind of evenly somehow, so that albums are not too close to each other and that kind of thing. So that really helps. So the Halo Effect album has been ready for months, and so it's okay. It's not always easy, but it's not that bad.
Because every time I see you, you're on the road. Basically, you spend your life outside the house.
Yeah.
How many days in total did you spend at home actually last year?
Last year wasn't that bad. It was the year before, and I did 165 shows. So I was away for more than 200 days. And that's not really cool. I don't want to put my family through that again, and I don't want to put myself through that again. So I'm going to cut it down, and I mean, we always try to kind of tour economically. We don't want to spend any time unnecessarily away from home. We just want to make sure that we can work as much as we can, but also make it somehow livable and reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have family being away from home, it kind of reminds me the wrestlers. I'm talking about the pro wrestlers, like from back in the day, where they would spend all their life on the road, and they would come just for a weekend or something. That's why I cannot imagine. I mean, you had to make a living, and if that's what you chose, you have to make sacrifices, but after a while it takes its toll, man.
It really does. And I mean, you feel it after a while, but I like the idea of playing shows every night and not too many days off when we're away, trying to kind of fly out on the day of the show and get back early in the morning, that kind of stuff, just to make sure that it doesn't become overwhelming. But doesn't always work out like that, but we try.
And with the Endtime Signals, as you were saying, you wrote a lot of the stuff during the pandemic. So when did you guys go to studio exactly to record the songs for the album?
Well, we started, what was it, kind of like a year ago from now, I think. Basically it was kind of down to Martin Brännström and Johan Reynolds to kind of put everything together. So we started checking out ideas and loose projects that we never finished for whatever reason, and try to figure out like, where do we go now? There's been obviously lineup changes and stuff that has kind of affected and shifted kind of the songwriting responsibilities, and so it became very important to kind of make sure that we got it right, that we found like the perfect path to where we wanted to be. And So we, in the beginning, we just said that screw it, like let's just write as much as we possibly can. And we started. So yeah, we started last spring, I think it was, and during the summer as well. We we wrote a lot. Like Johan lives in Malmö, so that's 3 hours away. So he comes here, and we stay in the studio basically for a couple of days, write and demo stuff for 12, 14 hours sometimes. And so it's just a matter of like finding that right balance between where we want to go, where we've been, where we feel right now, what is important, like that kind of stuff. So it took a lot of time, but at the same time, I think this was very kind of liberating. It was challenging, but in the best possible way, where you go like, oh, this is interesting and new. We've never written an album like this before. We haven't written in this way before. And we had demos kind of early of every song, so we knew kind of the vibe of the album, so we could kind of focus and hone in on what we really liked and what we needed to change. And so we had like vocals for most tracks early on, which helped Martin write keyboard parts and Johan guitar parts, that kind of stuff. So it was a great session, even though, you know, you go through these highs and lows and ups and downs, like every single, you know, every creative endeavor has this, you know, like, are we just repeating ourselves? Are we just doing the same thing over and over again? Are we getting better or are we getting worse? Like what's going on? Like, and it was, it's always like that. Yeah. But you have to kind of trust the process. You trust the people you work with. You trust that, you know, your instinct will lead you right, you know, and eventually we got there. So, but damn, it was one of those long things that just seemed endless for a while, but then it kind of came together. So
you talked about the lineup changes. You know, it's something that happens regularly sometimes with bands. You know, members change, it's how it goes. Do you always see it as an opportunity to improve, or for you it's like one of those processes where not again? I have to go
No, I think it definitely is an opportunity. I mean, I try to see things through a positive lens, you know. So even though it's frustrating, like, you know, when Chris decided like he wanted to do something else, and I was like, what? Fuck, he's one of the best guitar players in the world. Like, how can we ever replace him? But and it's stuff like that. But also at the same time, like getting like Joachim on drums is amazing because he's such a total pro. He can play anything, and that opened up a lot of opportunities to write songs. You know, we could do things that we haven't been able to do in many years. Same with Christian on bass, like just such a beast of a player that it just inspired and opened up new opened new ideas, and so I love that, actually. I mean, we've been such a stable lineup in the band for like the first 20 plus years. Yeah. So now with some fresh blood, it's actually I think it's really is a good thing. And it's fun now that we are gearing up for festival season. We're rehearsing, you know, old songs that we haven't played in forever, and everything sounds so much better than it ever has. And I'm really excited about that. So it is a good thing, you know.
Is there a song that you haven't played ever that you would like?
There are a few, actually, and there are some that we are going to pick up this year that we want to play. So there's some exciting stuff happening, actually, and we're going to get together in the next week and play some of these songs for the first time. And it's a little bit scary, but also very cool.
And, you know,
for some reason, you know, some songs just get forgotten. You know, you think about it like, we got to play this song, and then you just don't, and then it gets forgotten and it doesn't get picked up again. So we've done some of that now. We put together lists, all of us, to kind of like, what are the songs that we haven't played that would be cool, you know? And then we compile this list, and through a very democratic process, we have like a very new and exciting set list. So that's cool.
And did you ever look back at any of those songs and, you know, wonder, you know, why did we play this? Or how did we play this? How did I sing like this? What the fuck was going on?
Yeah, all the time, actually, especially now. When I was kind of listening through all the old albums, is just to figure out like, hey, what can we do now? Like, what would be cool? What would be appropriate and feel good? And then you just go like, I had no idea what went through our minds. Like, how did we come up with this? And sometimes it's an amazing thing where you go like, wow, this is actually super cool. I just forgot about it. And sometimes it's like, I still don't get it, but well, that's the way it goes. I like when albums are similar to a time capsule. It really is exactly what you're about in this moment, and that's it. And then it stays with you forever because you put it on tape, or record it. So it's I like that, but it's sometimes hard to kind of reconnect with your younger self and and fully understand. But most of the time, you can actually kind of go back and remember like what was happening in our lives at the time, like what made us write a song like this, and that can be really emotional and cool, actually.
You get very nostalgic sometimes when you hear, a certain song from back in the days. You get that kind of a cold in the belly, like when you.
I don't know, maybe not nostalgic, but I like thinking about like what we did back then, trying to kind of reminisce and talk about like it, or tell stories about what it was like to the other guys, or just try to kind of keep the memory going so that I remember what else happened 20 years ago or something like that. But I don't know, nostalgia is probably not the right word for it, but there's some kind of, there's pride, of course, that comes into it, where you go like, yeah, this is actually pretty damn cool, and we did something special here, So it's more like that, and kind of satisfaction that it's still kind of holds up, most of the time.
Is there any part of your life, we're getting older, I'm getting older, and there is a certain part of my life, not because of anything special, but it's a blur. I cannot remember, what happened. I don't know what happened with my brain. Maybe it's something that's happening there, but there is a blur in certain times of my life where I don't remember. Does that happen to you, where you don't remember a certain?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of things. Like sometimes I think it's easy to get overwhelmed, like especially like for like a weekend like I just had it at Sweden Rock Festival. You meet so many people, you have such huge experiences where you see some of your favorite bands, and you meet all your best friends, and it's like, and it just becomes a blur. So you have this kind of social hangover, emotional hangover after a weekend like that, where it's like, wow, what actually happened? And it's hard, to, because so much is going on at the same time, that it's hard to kind of put all the little pieces in the right place in your brain, and so I don't think memory can always keep up with the experiences you have. And sometimes it is kind of like, we always joke about that, like when we tour, we come to a new or come to a city. I've been to this city, but not this venue, absolutely not. Then you walk into the venue, you go like, never been here. Then you look it up like on setlist.fm. It's like, yep, been here twice. Can't remember a thing. What's up with that? I don't know. Like, maybe it's just a selective memory where you go like, that information is just not necessary anymore, and you make room for new memories or experiences. I don't know, but it is kind of frustrating. I remember reading some interview with Alice Cooper that he said like he doesn't remember parts of the 70s, and I was like, holy fuck, that's depressing, that's horrible. But I can relate. Not the 70s though. I'm a bit younger, but but still, like, a couple of tours that are just like, I have seen pictures, and I know some things that happened, but not the whole thing, not even close. Maybe remember a few days here and there.
That's the thing with me. I'm a photographer. I take photos, and sometimes when I go to the attic to go through the old, photos and the negatives and stuff, I see photos, I'm like, I don't remember being there. But I was, because the photos prove it.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I saw
It's
this
it's a
band.
bit scary, but I don't know. It's nothing to be afraid of. I think it's fine, and it's just, maybe that's just the way the mind works. I have some friends who are the opposite. They remember everything, and that's a bit of a curse as well, because it's like constant information that you kind of have immediately at hand. But yeah, I mean, taking pictures is actually a really good thing. I'm horrible at it, and I rarely do it, but it's a good thing to kind of keep at least going back. Like, yeah, where did I go like 7 years ago? Oh yeah,
I remember, a friend of mine. She was we were in Ireland for a travel many, many years ago, and I go to Ireland a lot. Anyway, I have family there, and I don't remember that trip with her. I don't. I see the photos, and I'm like, okay, it happened. Okay, I don't remember.
It's a bit frightening, but yeah, I've had a few similar experiences. Just, I don't know, like,
it's just
either you just you're too excited, or your mind is somewhere else, because I think in my case that's normally what happens. I'm somewhere else in my head, like thinking about like what I'm supposed to do later, unanswered emails, whatever. Then it's hard to kind of be in the moment and kind of actually take in what your surroundings or whatever it is that you're doing. My family will have to go like, hey, snap out of it. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. It's easy to get lost like that.
Yeah, probably with me was thinking about what am I going to have for dinner or for lunch. That happens anyway. But for Endtime Signals, lyrically, what did inspire you to write for this record?
I think it. I don't know. I'm normally trying to kind of see things in a positive light, and not be too kind of, I don't know, pessimistic. But I don't know. There was something about like during the pandemic and everything that kind of came after that, when we started touring again. Me and Martin, like we were talking, like feels like I don't know, like things have shifted a little bit in the world, where things that you maybe thought would eventually be worked out maybe won't. It feels like we've gone a bit too far in the wrong direction to kind of pull back, in many different aspects, of course. So I found that kind of depressing and frustrating, and so the album kind of became this about dystopia of what will happen if we don't, use the handbrake, or pull back a little bit. I'm not against progress by any stretch, but it's still sometimes moving in directions that maybe are not well suited for us, and it's became this kind of story in a way about where we might be heading, and also it was kind of about loss. Like there's a lot of things that happen in our lives and in my life that it just really, really affected me, and I hadn't really written about it before, and there was things that we went through during the pandemic that I just hadn't dealt with. So it became kind of serious in tone, and also I think me and Martin and Johan, we talked a lot about just how important this album is to us, to kind of like mark a new beginning, a new start, or kind of to prove to ourselves that we are still relevant somehow, or we are doing something that has some kind of purpose, or at least does something for us that means something, and it became kind of so the purpose of it was to deal with things, get things out in the open, and kind of be communicate about it, rather than keep it in. And so it's it was really tough to write, but I think like musically and lyrically together, it kind of spelt this kind of gloomy dystopian version of whatever reality we deal with. And it was difficult to write because it always is, but I think it became more emotional than maybe we had anticipated, and we tackled some things that we were dreading, but we needed to do. Frederick, our original guitar player who played on the gallery in the Mind's Eye and a projector, he passed away 2 years ago, and we wanted to do something kind of for him or by him, and so he wrote a lot of music while he was struggling with cancer, and so we used the music that he wrote to write a song about kind of how he dealt with it and how we dealt with kind of those last years, and that became kind of like something that drove the album forward. Like we knew that we were eventually going to write that song, but because we had decided to do it, but we didn't. We only had like fragments of it. We had parts of it, and that kind of dread that you feel when you have to do something very difficult like that inspired many of the other songs as well. So it became kind of an album partly about grief and dealing with loss as well.
Yeah. That thing about dealing with loss, for me, on a personal level, it took me, and it still takes like years to actually go over it. In terms of acceptance, it takes, and people say no, but it's after a year, it's all will be better. No, it's not. It's not, and it's very, sometimes it really depends on the person, how they deal with stuff. But for me, it's it's been 4 years since I lost my dad, and it's still very difficult to process everything. But on a more positive note, so to say, or not, AI, it's becoming a very trendy thing. Artists, musicians, the way that you can make a video with the voice of a person, which is not actually saying those things or singing. Like we've seen some mashups of artists singing, like John Edward singing whatever. Is that scary that we are at the point where that can be used as propaganda, as a tool to mislead people? Is that scary for you as an artist?
It is, of course. I mean, again, like I like technology, I like new ideas, I like new progress, but also like I was very hopeful. I was in my teens when kind of the internet kind of started happening, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. It's going to change the world, just because finally we have access to all the information we need. So nobody has to believe anything anymore. We can just know because the information is there. It's like the best library in the world that is open to everyone, and everybody will have kind of access to the same information. So that and I was I dreamt of the world without religion and belief and pseudoscience and all that stuff. And I was like, oh man, imagine, but of course the opposite happened. And it's the same here. I think it can be a great tool, of course, for a lot of people, and I think we will view it as a great tool in the future. But for now, it does seem scary because we know what can be done. In the wrong hands, these are not tools, but they are tools, but for misinformation rather than like to help like a creative process or something like that. And I think so that part is scary, and we need to be very wary of how it's used, and also kind of implement these safeguards so that you can easily actually see if it is something that is altered, and not an original thing. But let's see. I mean, it's exciting because it's new and it's fascinating. But it's
developing quite fast these days. I mean, faster than a government can put regulations on.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
The governments are sleeping.
Yeah. And it's really difficult to wrap your head around, because every month there's a new version of things coming out that has new features and new things that and can do it so much better. So these quantum leaps are happening like every 6 months or more, when it's going to move even faster, And so that is it is scary, and I talk a lot about with some of my journalist friends, and they are worried about it too.
No, it's
sure you can go like AI is not going to replace anyone, but maybe a guy who really knows how to use AI will replace someone who doesn't. It's like I don't know.
No, the thing is, we have seen the movies. Hollywood made the movies about machines getting there, learning by themselves after. And I think we're still a bit far, but probably not as far as we think we are.
No.
Because with like ChatGPT, the way it can learn from your answers and everything, it can be scary, when it starts thinking by itself, pausing, and then answering, can be beware.
It is. I don't know. But it's I mean, it feels weird. Like you can have some fun with it, sure, but you can also totally just use it for the wrong reasons, or just make things easier and more streamlined and boring and not creative, know. And I think that's the scary part. Like the biggest newspaper here in Gothenburg, like they use it on every third article or something like that, and you go like, well, okay, that's where we're going now. Just compiling information just like a journalist would, but it's faster but it's less of a person there. There's less of a editorial kind of spin on things. Like there's nothing, and if people are not reading enough as it is now, you only read the headlines in the newspapers, and you kind of get the gist, and you go like, moving on. Your attention span is very limited. Then this is not going to make it any better for sure.
I used it recently, but was to try to understand how my investments, how does how does the percentage is made, because I wasn't getting it because I invested certain amount of money. I wasn't getting what I thought I should be getting. So I question, AI, how the percentages work. And he gave me the math, explained to me, and I was like, okay, now I get it. I'm being fucked up because I thought it was.
But I mean, that's kind of cool. Like that means like you're using it as a tool, like you're helping yourself like understand something.
That's what I did, and I realized, why putting so much money on the side if you're not really getting enough out of it.
Sure. It's financial aid too.
Anyway, and Mikael, to wrap it up, you guys are going to do a tour with Moonspell, Wolfart. Obviously, you guys are going to be busy on the road. So for the tour and after for 2025, what are your plans? Halo Effect, obviously, a record as well. But what are the plans, for the next year?
It's gonna be exciting. Actually, we have plans up until next summer and more. So we're going to do some really cool tours. We're going to divide them up a little bit and do some different things. We're talking about celebrating some of the older albums that have anniversaries coming up, playing some older songs, and so it's going to be constant tour from August 16th up until next August or more. But it's going to be cool. Like we have some really, really interesting stuff that we are planning in terms of visuals, in terms of set list and all that. So it's I'm really excited actually. Like it's fun to make big plans, because that kind of gets you excited and you want to get out. It's not going to be just another tour. It's going to be something else, and that it's has all of us kind of like, ooh, yeah, we're constantly like chatting about ideas and thoughts about like what we should do. So yeah, we're going to get there, and it's going to be exciting.
Cool. All right, Mikael, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Dark Tranquillity. Hopefully see you guys back in Portugal soon. You were last year at the festival, so
yeah.
You guys need to be back soon.
Always. I love it.
All right.
Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you.
You too, man.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.